Man United 0, Everton 1, a loss at home, to 10 men of Everton. They had 10 men for 77 of the 90 minutes as well, Scotty. I mean, more if you include the stoppage time. Just on the surface, horrendous result that, isn't it? To lose to that team in that way when they're down to 10 men for so much of the game, awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would have expected it to be as bad as it was this evening, to be honest. Even the biggest critic of Amorim or Manchester United under him, I don't think could have foresaw that, especially when they went down to 10 men. It felt like a formality that we'd go on and win the game.
It's mad. I mean, going through the sort of the early part of the game, and I'll get into some comments, to get your comments and get your thoughts, and we'll get into them in a minute. It's a bizarre turn of events, or sequence of events, should I say, that happens. Idrissa Gueye sent off after 13 minutes for slapping Michael Keane in the face. And like you said, at that point, it feels as though there's so much time here that advantage over the course of the game will see Man United win. The thing is, in the 30 minutes up until then, Everton had been the better team. We were saying straight away, something's not quite right here. The intensity's not there. The energy isn't there. That thing that we saw last season of Everton will play a ball out from the back and their attacker gets to it and our centre-back is not even in touching distance of them. You know, when we were at our best over the last few weeks, every time the ball got played up, there's a collision. Luke Shaw's going into the back of the striker trying to win the ball, or he push him out the way and win the ball. There was distance and there was gaps and there was sluggishness in every bit of United's play. I mean, up until they scored their goal on the 29th minute, United weren't right at all with it, especially that first half. No,
not at all. And we mentioned it during the watch-along. It just felt very much like every ugly trait from last season and why we played such bad football had come back to haunt us. Man United, over that 90 minutes, regressed, and they really did. I mean, if you look at the starting 11, outside of the keeper and Mbeumo, it was, there was 9 players there that were there last season, so it can't be wholly surprising. My worry is that have we been vastly improved because of Matthias Cunha and what happens when he goes, or the other bright spot tonight was Brian, and it was the other players that needed to step up tonight and lead, and that wasn't there. But it was just like, I made the analogy last season. It was just like they're playing football in treacle. It was just so slow, and there was no desire and drive. And I don't think that's down to systems or anything, or them being on international break. People have seen that on social media. It's not an excuse at all. They come back and they should be. You're at home for the first time in 4 weeks,
something like that. Yeah, long time.
Is it because you think that you can win the game without actually making so much of an effort? And was the fact that they went down to 10 men, did that give you even more of a sort of ego boost? We've got this in the bank, lads. There was nothing about it, and as time went on, we ran out of what little ideas we had to try and get a shot off. There was no variety at all, and what we resorted to was trying to cross balls into a box to a striker who's not renowned for scoring goals. Towards the end, he got a couple of decent headers away, and it did take Pickford to make a fabulous save, but it was far too little too late. There was absolutely no creativity. And it just felt like a regression, and everything they didn't want to see again from a Manchester United team last season was there this evening. Yeah.
Getting some super chats and some of the comments as well. BS aside, you tell me, what was the game plan today? What were we trying to do? All I saw was 5-yard safe passes sideways to the nearest man for 90 minutes. I think the game plan obviously was to try and make chances and win the game. I think part of the game plan goes out the window when they go down to 10 men, and the way they play changed a lot after their goal. So up until then, I think United were miles off it, and I'm happy to put some of that blame onto the game plan, and also onto the manager for not getting his players hyped up enough. For whatever reason, they weren't ready, and that's not all on the manager either, because it would be unfair to say it's up to him to get everyone out of fucking bed in the morning and be ready to play for Manchester United, because that shouldn't be just on him either. But maybe he should have done a better job with that. In terms of personnel, I think we can look at some players, and Joshua Zirkzee, I think for a lot of the game today was poor, and he looked like someone who'd not played all season. And as you mentioned last season, some of it looked like last season again, because it was a lot of last season's team. I think he was nowhere near the pace. There's a lot of criticism I've seen of Amorim and not switching from 3 at the back, and by the sound of the bits we heard on through the TV, Gary Neville was pretty sort of doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on this. He kept, every time we lined up with 5 at the back when they were taking a goal kick, there it is again, look, you can't be doing that. Why are we still doing 5 at the back? And my only counter to that would be, firstly, the only actual defenders that were playing in a defensive way on the pitch were, but certainly for the second half at least, I know the first half was different, but we made changes, was Yoro, Delict, Luke Shaw and Dallow. That's, first of all, that's two full-backs and two centre-backs. I know Luke Shaw's playing left centre-back, but he's not a sit-back, defend, can't play on the ball kind of player. Ahmad was not playing as a fullback in that game. No. Certainly when he went to the right-hand side, he was playing as a winger. He was on the right, going one-on-one with his man all the time. He wasn't... we didn't get a chance there because Ahmad wasn't up far enough because he was playing right-back. We played with 4 defenders, 3 midfielders, with Mount, Mainu and Bruno. Then we had Xerxes and Bumo and Ahmad. Like, I get that the formation theoretically is a defensive one, but we had 4 defensive players, 3 midfield players, 3 attacking players. That's just what every system has. And the fact that we had 25 shots and only 6 on target, so fair enough. And we didn't make a whole host of great chances, I'll admit that. But they had 3 shots, 1 on target. They didn't make a load of great chances either, but they had a fantastic finish and they capitalised on our mistakes. I think that to blame the system, let's imagine we'd have played fewer defenders. Would we have had 40 shots? 35, 40 shots? I don't think we would. And maybe we would have had a couple more. And maybe, I'm not saying there's no system that wouldn't have won the game, because that's absurd. And obviously, you've got to win games like that. But I think if you, in any game, have 25 shots to the opposition's 3, at some point, you have to question the quality of the players taking the shots.
The law of averages tell you, don't you, that you should win that game.
Yeah, and once they go down to 10 men and score the goal, that 30 minutes is the big problem for me. And that's where I would question Amorim in those 30 minutes. But after that, United had all of the ball. Yeah. In the second half, we had 76% possession, 17 shots, they had none. So the second half is just a byproduct of those first 30 minutes. But in the second half, we completely dominated and controlled the game, but we just couldn't get the ball in the net.
No, not at all. And the thing is, the system was the same in the first half and the second half. So if they were playing better in the second half, and creating more chances than they were in the first, it was more about the sort of determination and drive from the starting 11 than it was about the system that they were playing in.
Yeah.
Now, I like Amorim, and I'm not going to criticise him too heavily, but for me, the biggest mistake today was starting with Joshua Xerxes up front. I think that Xerxes' best game in United shirt did come against Everton last year, and when I saw the lineup, I thought, okay, he's going to expect Xerxes to drop deep and have Mbumo and Ahmad running off him in the same way that he had Rashford and Ahmad running off him last season, and it seemed to work for United last year. We won 4-0. It was very evident earlier on that wasn't going to be the case. And Everton, you have to, hold your hands up that they did come out a hell of a lot stronger than anybody was expecting to, fans or Manchester United players. So you got to, hold your hands up to them. But I just think this blaming the system consistently just feels like lazy punditry to me. For me, the flaws today was that he started with a striker that he should never have done. He should have started with Mount, who's played well when he started every single game this year. We need to take stock of the players that aren't taking accountability for their role in the team when Kuna, who's been there, 3 months, has become sort of the star player in the way Bruno has in the past. He's not there. The worrying sign for me is that, okay, if he's not going to be there, who's going to stand up and start, creating chances? Because we weren't making anything at all, whereas Kuna would usually drive through and create chances out of nothing. And Mbumo tried his hardest tonight, but I don't think that's his game. He prefers balls over the top. When you haven't got the option of getting crosses into the box to score goals, what else are you providing there? And that's when I'm looking at the likes of Bruno and Casemiro and your midfielders, and it didn't work. And Mazraoui, I don't think he had a great game. When we had Ahmad and Brian down the right hand side, that was a little bit more productive. But to say that we were better in the second half and then we were in the first half, but the system was the same, it just doesn't hold any water to me. It's just lazy punditry.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of comments, and again, I think we need to be more specific on what it is that the problem was, rather than just saying this manager's clueless. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Because I think if you think that we played with 5 defenders in that second half, we had 6 men on their last line for most of that second half. We had Dallow on one side, then it was Mount, then it was Cunha, then it was Xerxes, then it was Mbumo, then it was Ahmad. What's that? Dallow, Mount, Xerxes, and Mbumo, Ahmad. That's 5 across the line there. Then we had 2 midfield and we had 3 behind them. what more can you do than that?
No.
And this thing of like we should have changed it, and people keep mentioning Euro because Gary Neville mentioned Euro, that he shouldn't be the one picking the ball up. Who are you bringing on? So the options off the bench, I guess we could have maybe brought Lacey on, but for what? Euro? So you're playing Shea Lacey at centre-back, or the other option is you bring Ugarte on, who's less attacking than any of the players he could have replaced. There's no one else on the bench. This is the issue when you have injuries. You can't sort of magic up extra players out of nowhere. For me, let's start Ahmad at wing back from the beginning. We don't need 2 defensive fullbacks to start the game. I completely agree with that. And find a way to get the players energised from the start. But I just think that who would you have brought on instead? I don't know. Velvet Thunder says all the hard work undone. They were useless today, and Aram deserves a slap for keeping 3 at the back. On fuck the system. It doesn't work anyway. Be more dynamic. Guts Doyle says stop talking about one bad game. I don't know who's talking about one bad game. Brentford City gave away 4 points against Forest and Spurs. We played decent counter direct football. That's not good. Unforgivable, worst performance in decades. Sack him. Have you just started watching Man United? It's the worst performance in decades if you didn't watch us play against Grimsby this season, yeah, or against Brentford or against Man City. But yeah, other than that, it is. I wish. How good would it be, by the way, if that was our worst performance in decades? We'd have had so many more league titles, wouldn't we? It'd have been amazing if it was. BS, we were 5 at the back bar the last 20 minutes. I don't know. Or whatever. Then we just disagree. Look at how we attacked. Where was Ahmad? When was the time when Ahmad should have been on that right hand side, but he can't because he's on the halfway line. Yeah. It never happened. Ahmad was up playing as an attacking winger the whole second half. Joey Banks says, watch United is like climbing a mountain that's all cliffs and no peaks. This was Xerxes' chance to prove himself, but unfortunately he is shite. I hate everything about that performance, says Jack McCourt. Amarim has lost me after that one. Players are awful. His decisions were worse. Down by 1 at home to 10 men Everton and playing with 5 at the back. This is we're going to see this, aren't we? Every single time we lose a game, the concept of 5 at the back and therefore being this horrendously defensive formation is never going to go away with Amarim. I think for a lot of people, just 5 at the back, fundamentally, on paper, you've got more defenders than we normally do. Therefore, we're playing really defensive. He's a coward. It's useless. It's shit. I think for a lot of people, he's never gonna win them over while we play this formation and system. Unfortunately, I just think that's there seems to be a block there for a lot of people in terms of what we're actually seeing from a 5 at the back. You said it though, Joe. It's personnel rather than system. That was the issue. I think when I seen the starting lineup, I thought. I was optimistic. I thought it was going to be 3-0 before I seen the Kuna wasn't going to play, and I thought that's the most defensive I've seen as sort of set up this year, and I was a little bit concerned in that. The personnel problems, when Ahmad was playing over on the right hand side alongside Brian, has that not been successful this season? But the thing is, the problem with football fans, and I'm guilty of it, and the problem with pundits, and that they fucking, they throw this out old clickbait to wind United fans up, is that everything's just such in the instant. Last week we were 5 games unbeaten. Until 2 hours ago we were 5 games unbeaten. Before that we were terrible. Sack Amarim. We beat Liverpool. Everyone's happy again. Yeah. Like what are you like? This result might only be in isolation for what's going to come next week. It was a shit day at the office, right? Yeah. It really was. But does that undo the previous 5 games where we drew against the Spurs that we got beat by last season, or we drew against the Forest, or the other 3 games that we won that we weren't expecting to win? So you have to look at the context of the season. It was a terrible performance. I personally put it down to the personnel team starting Xerxes and Mazraoui, and then the players not having enough accountability for themselves. But you just stop buying into this whole thing about, it's all the system, because the system we just went unbeaten for 5 games. Yeah. Straight answer, are you happy seeing us play with 3 centre-backs against 10 men while 1-0 down? Is there any logical sense to this? Are you not pissed? Who are you bringing on? Yeah. I mean, first of all, we've just been through this. Luke Shaw isn't a centre-back, is he? He's a left-back playing as part of a back 3. Everyone leaves 3 men back. Like we had 3 players back. So should we have left 2 players back? Maybe. I mean, people were complaining before that Yoro was playing too high. So was he back or was he too far? Like, I don't. Do you expect United to just have no defenders on the pitch? Dallow was far left wing, Ahmad was far right wing, Yoro and Shaw were pushing up. I don't think there was any issue in the amount of men that United had in Everton's half and in Everton's third. I really don't.
No, because the argument's, by the shots and chances we created, the argument's null and void. Yeah. I'd understand it if we kept like 3 men at the back and we didn't create any chances.
Yeah. We've got a few more super chats. And the other problem here is, by default, we end up defending things and looking like we're trying to spend this whole video defending the system and defending the tactics, which isn't what you would do if we weren't talking in response to people what I think being overly critical of it. Like we would have had to go at Amorim for some of the positions and the personnel that he started the game with. We'd have had to go at the players for how sort of lacklustre they were. Yep. But because the whole discourse is about the system, you end up spending 15 minutes defending something that I don't think should even be the main topic of debate at the moment. Gary Neville needs to be called out. Nothing constructive, all daggers all the time, says Nikki C. Joe, he did nothing from 13th minute till half time. He needed to change it, you'd argue, at 11 versus 11. 30 minute, we got the gift and changed nothing. I agree, and he should have reacted quicker there. And we all said during the first half, bring Ahmad back to wing back and get Mount on as soon as possible. So I completely agree with that. I think he should have acted quicker there. And the fact that we didn't see after the red card that Everton was still looking better than us and we weren't doing enough creatively, that is on Amorim 100%. Joe, watch it back. We played 5 at the back. Okay, thank you. Evening, guys, from El Paso, Texas. Should have won this one. Should have got Osimhen in the summer. Xerxes can just do it for us. Still have to back Amorim. Xerxes just can't do it for us, sorry. Still have to back Amorim. Discombobulate said the space and time on the ball Everton were given when a man down was shocking, 100%. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. We were playing with 3 in midfield, yet we lost every defensive header, and they were picking up second balls because we have no midfield. What? I didn't say we were playing with 3 in midfield. I said we played with 4 defenders, 3 midfielders, 3 attackers. The way they were set up, as I said before, was 3-2-5 for most of the time we had the ball. So yes, there was 2 men in midfield for a lot of that, but that was so we could have 5 men on their last line. Anyway, bring on Ugarte and Mainu, Casemiro and Bruno. That's a 3. Okay. Can you imagine us now during AFCON? I don't want to imagine us during AFCON, because to imagine taking Mbermo and Ahmad out of that team.
Kuhn is injured. Imagine
fucking hell, imagine. Can you imagine taking them 2 out of that? No. It would have been 2 or 3-0, wouldn't it? Yeah. It would have been a steamroller for Everton.
It would have been a watch along I probably walked out of.
Yeah, it would have been the worst. Gusto says we created nothing of value. Dallow can't attack. Never want to see Xerxes play for us ever again, says Goatman. And Dylan Nunes says if we don't have everyone fit, we're done. It's not the system or tactics. We lack players and depth. We need every player at their best every game to win. I completely agree. I think our squad isn't good enough, and when we see big tweaks and changes happen, we're going to really struggle this season. With injuries, we're going to struggle during AFCON. Xerxes was a fucking million miles off Sesko, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, whoever that said that comment there was banging the nail on the head, because if you thought that United, after one decent transfer window in the summer, and it was a very good transfer window, was enough to sort of solve the problem, then you're deluded. I apologise. You need to sort of take a look at the bigger picture, because injuries are going to affect us, and we're going to have to play the team that played last season and played shit football, and that's what we got tonight, because a lot of them players are still there. We haven't got the strength in depth.
Yeah. Kojo says, and we can stop with it, we've turned a new leaf every few months. It's cringe seeing Ruben Amorim and players patting themselves on the back after a run. Again, I agree to a certain extent, but Amorim said in the press conference before the game yesterday that he wasn't happy with the last 2 results. There was a lot that he wanted to change, and he's not going to basically sit there and pat himself on the back. So I think you're maybe projecting that onto him a little bit. Check out Steve's review. That's how you should react. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Guts Door. Why don't you check out Steve's review? And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, Scotty. As always, Steve will be on our channel, and you'll love watching that tomorrow in the morning. We'll have Andy Tate on, I believe, in a little bit as well. A poor night for Manchester United, we can say that, can't we?
Hopefully it was a one-off.
Hopefully it was a one-off. And the good thing is, because we've got European football, we'll be able to turn it around midweek. Oh, wait. See you Sunday. Right. Thank you very much. See you in a bit.